this evening, I'm here with Kara Garland, who is a nutritionist and also works with the Jane app team. Rachel is with us as well. She does their events and sponsorships at Jane. So I'm here with both of them, and we're going to be chatting about how Jane can boost your nutrition practice and add value to your client's experience. So it's going to be a lot about streamlining your client experience. We're going to chat about general features that are going to make your life easier, as well as diving into Jane's intake forms, charting tips, integrations that they have, again, all to make your life as a nutritionist easier, more efficient, get things done without spending so much time fighting with tech. So we're also going to leave time for a Q&A. So you are welcome, as always, to use the chat or the Q&A function to send us your questions. And there will be an offer at the end as well. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. So welcome, Kara. Welcome, Rachel. Thank you both for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So
very excited.
Yeah, me too. This is a good one. We've had lots of requests to learn more about Jane. A lot of our members are in Canada, so I know you guys are very popular in Canada. So this will be good. Lots of good information. So let me jump right into the first question I have for you, Kara. I think it would be really great for everyone to hear the story about how Jane started and why. What was behind that?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly love sharing this story. It's such a wonderful introduction to Jane. So Jane started because our founder, or one of our founders, I should say, Ali, she owned a multidisciplinary clinic in North Vancouver. So her clinic was mostly physiotherapy, massage, and other kind of holistic manual therapies. And they needed to create an online booking site that worked really well for their particular practice. So she did hire an outside team because she couldn't find really anything that was what she was looking for in the current available software. And once that was built, other clinics started asking, what software are you using? Where did this come from? So they started just piece by piece, this word of mouth business, building out software, her and Trevor, who was the developer, who began Jane. And after a while, that word of mouth just kept spreading. And they said, okay, I think we need to create an actual software that people can subscribe to and use for their practice, just to make things easier. It started as just online booking, scheduling, and billing, and then charting was brought in a little bit later. And then from there, more and more features kept getting added in. So really, it just kind of came from a need in the industry. It's built by practitioners for practitioners, and it still stays true to that word of mouth kind of feeling. Jane is really meant to be a community. So that's what we're here to share with you.
Awesome. And why was it named Jane?
Yeah, this is a fun question. This gets asked a lot. So basically, they wanted the software to feel personable and friendly. They wanted it to feel very approachable because not everybody in these types of service industries are super familiar with tech or very experienced with it. So part of the idea was just to make it sound friendly and personable and approachable. And they went through a bunch of names, and for a while they thought they might name it after Ali, our founder, but eventually they landed on Jane.
I kind of alluded a bit earlier that, and you did as well, Jane was started in Canada, but I know you're in lots of other countries around the world now. Are you able to share how many countries and how challenging it was to take the business of Jane overseas?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So Jane initially was created in Canada for Canadian practitioners. So it really fit the needs of what the regulations are here. So one of the challenges moving Jane around the world was definitely being able to adhere to the different privacy laws depending where you're practicing. And then the other challenge we found as we grow and keep growing is being able to offer support in people's native languages. So Jane support is primarily all of us, myself included. I work on the support and demo team here at Jane. We're primarily English speaking. We do have a few French friends on the team, but we can't always guarantee that we can offer support in another language. So that's been a little bit of a challenge. In general, Jane's biggest user base is in Canada, followed very closely by the US. And then we are available now throughout the UK, Australia, New Zealand. We do have some clinics in Asia that are coming on, as well as the Middle East and other parts of Europe, and a little bit in South America too. So I wouldn't
Wow.
know exactly the full number of clinics across. I don't know. Rachel might know that answer. I can always find it for you. We have it documented somewhere and I can send it after.
That's exciting. For those who are watching, are you able to tell us in short, what is Jane?
Yeah, so just really what Jane is an all-around practice management and electronic health record software. So really what we want to be able to do is offer you a full support system for your practice and your patients, from booking their initial appointments, either having them book them themselves online or you being able to schedule them administratively, to creating the chart notes, even setting up your plans and documentation, being able to share those documents with patients, as well as bill and offer telehealth all in one space.
Okay. So considering that it is a practice management software, there are other practice management platforms. So can you share a little bit about, and I know we'll get into the details a little bit more, but are you able to share a little bit about what makes Jane unique compared to some of the other products on the market?
Yes, absolutely. I think if you speak to practitioners who have been using Jane for a while now, they'll probably tell you that one of the biggest differences is just the community feel of working with Jane. So the customer support side, we really approach Jane with a very customer minded kind of heart, I would say. It's called the Jane heart. That's what we call it here around the office. And so everything that we do, we want to make sure that it delights our customers and it makes their lives easier. So the support team tends to be one of the things that people rave about the most. As well as our community. And our community can be found on Facebook. We have a Facebook group where you can connect with other practitioners who are also using Jane. You can pose them questions. Our support and our community is completely free to join. And on top of that, the software itself is meant to not only function and give you everything that you need to help your practice, it also is just pretty to look at. And so I know sometimes these software companies are more focused on the function and not so much on the visual. But at least, with Jane, you have that little extra on top of getting to look at something pleasant every day. And we even have like these funny dad jokes that we put in different places sometimes. You'll see these little welcome messages when you sign in the morning. Really, what we're trying to do is just make your day brighter.
Wonderful. So are we able to get into more of the details and start showing those watching how Jane works? I think maybe starting with the schedule and booking to show some of that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to bring up our demo account. If any of the participants, if any of you folks ever want to get your hands on Jane and play around with it, you can always email into our support team. You can ask for the login information for our demo site. We do share this externally so that you can practice in the demo account, get your hands on Jane and see if it's really going to be the best fit for you. Just to get started, I want to make sure, can everybody see my screen? Can I get some thumbs
Yes,
up if we're
it
cool?
looks
Okay,
good.
excellent. Thank you. So basically, I'm just going to start by showing the online booking side of Jane. So this is really important for the patient experience here. And you'll notice that the Jane site, it's pretty easy to navigate. You'll notice that these colors here as well, you can actually change these and brand them to fit your current website. So you can change all these colors and add your own logo here as well. If you practice out of multiple locations, you can house all of those location schedules within one Jane account, and that doesn't cost any extra either. So if you are working out of multiple locations, the first landing page will encourage a patient or client to choose where they'd like to schedule their appointment. And then following that, they'll see what services and which practitioners are available there. Once you decide on the session or treatment you'd like to book or the practitioner that you would like to schedule with, Jane will take you to that schedule and show only the appointments available on the schedule that fit that session length. So there's no risk of anything getting double booked here or overlapped in your schedule. Jane is really mindful of that for you. The client's scheduling experience is fairly simple. They just click on the time slot they'd like to book. They'll just confirm. And if it's their very first time using your Jane account, they will be asked for a bit of additional information. So first name, last name, email address, as well as a phone number. Once they've created that appointment, they will be landing on a confirmation page like this one. They'll also receive a confirmation email to help them keep track that that appointment was booked. And this also creates for them what's called a My Account. So this is essentially their client portal with Jane. And in this client portal, they are able to see any of their upcoming appointments. So it keeps it nice and organized. They can see any past appointment history. And if you're using specific intake forms for your different types of treatments, you can set those up in Jane and have them send out at the time that the appointment is scheduled. They can either access them from a link within that notifications email, or they can access them here in their My Account and complete them electronically that way. This really helps to save time in those initial intake sessions so that clients are able to fill these out in advance and they're not taking the time during the session to do that. Another area here that I really like to point out is the document section. So you can actually share different types of documents and plans with your clients directly from the charting area, which we'll see a little bit later in the demonstration. And this is a great secure way for you to share information with clients so it's not going through email. They will have to log into the secure portal to see the information, and they can always come back here and revisit and find any of their old documents there as well. If you choose, you can use Jane's integrated payments, which allows the client to store a credit card on file for faster checkout. Just makes everything a lot easier. And it allows them also to pay any outstanding balances online too. Another great thing about using the My Account is they can use social logins with Google, Facebook, or Twitter. And this way they don't have to remember another username or password. I don't know about any of you, but I am not the best with passwords and usernames. And we know we all have to keep them unique in order for them to be secure. So it can be a lot to manage. So using your social logins here is particularly helpful.
Definitely.
Awesome. Are there any questions at all so far about the patient side of Jane's? Everybody feeling good?
I don't see anything in the chat yet, but I'll give everyone a moment in case there are any questions about the patient view. But
For sure.
you might touch on this later, but I will say my favorite Jane feature for the patient view on the schedule is the Make Me Look Busy feature. So it only will book an appointment that butts up against another appointment, so you don't end up with one 9 a.m. and one 5 p.m. appointment. I think that is a really, really useful feature.
Yeah, so there are quite a number of individual online booking settings you can use to really customize the view, and things like Make Me Look Busy and appointments that are scheduled right next to each other like that can be so helpful, especially if you have a long shift. You know, who wants to have a 5-hour gap in their day? That's no fun for anybody.
Definitely. So I don't see any other questions coming through. So I think if you wanted to maybe get into the charting, we can take a look at that.
Mhm. Absolutely. So just before we pop into the charting, I did want to just point out a few things for the admin side of the schedule here. You're able to create your own shifts, which is what this blue-gray area is, and you can even color code all of your different types of appointments. I don't know for any of you folks that are watching, but for me, I'm a very, very visual person, and for me to stay organized, I need to color code everything. So this way I can easily at a glance see, okay, I know what type of appointment that is. I can recognize it just based on the color. So that can be helpful too. I am going to pop over to what's called the day view of the Jane schedule. And so this is what I like to call the practitioner's home base, especially if you're working as a solo provider and you don't have any support staff. This is going to be the best way for you to stay organized throughout the day and just keep things really, really simple. So I'm actually first just going to make sure, yeah, I'm in the correct location. Okay, so I'm going to pop back to the day view. What we're seeing here now is the schedule for just today on the left-hand side. And then at the time that I click on an appointment, it will bring me directly to the client chart. This chart entry will also automatically be connected to the appointment that I'm working on right now. From here, we can go ahead and click New Chart Entry. You have the option to create your own chart templates, and you can actually search the template library here at Jane to find some inspiration first. So this can help you get started with a template. There are quite a number of nutrition and holistic nutrition templates in there already, shared by other practitioners just like you. I was actually checking that out in preparation today just to see what was in there, and I was honestly so happy to see all the different types of templates that have already been shared. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose this initial nutrition consult option. So this is a very simplified one. So this gives us a space to write our notes from the session. One of the cool things about Jane is that you can actually use what's called rich text. So we can bold areas of the text. We can also italicize it, and we can add bullet points and other information. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of info in there. And then we can do numbered lists here as well, which can be really helpful. And you do have the option too to integrate with FullScript. So if you have a FullScript account already, you can connect it to your Jane account. And honestly, this is one of the features that's most exciting, especially for the nutrition community, because you can build your FullScript recommendation right within Jane. You don't have to switch back and forth to different software. Everything on the patient end will remain the same with FullScript. They'll still get a FullScript email confirming that they have a new plan. They'll still need to log into FullScript to place their order, but all of your work, all of your administrative burden is in Jane directly, so you don't have to move around. The first thing you're going to do if you decide to build a FullScript recommendation here is to match the client if you have this client already existing in the FullScript account. And then from there, you can go ahead and start building out your recommendation. So this note box, it's important to note, the note boxes that you saw in Jane don't automatically transfer to FullScript. Only the information that we type in this personal message area will transfer to FullScript. You do have the option to search the product catalog, and it looks kind of similar to the FullScript search before one of their recent updates. So if you're familiar with that, it will look really familiar to you. And then the templates will show up here if you have some created. I think I had this all prepped before today's session. I think someone, they might have disconnected our FullScript account, unfortunately, so I lost my templates. But in order to build one, you can just start typing in the products, similar to how you would on FullScript. And I do recommend, if you're going to use this integration, to type the products in by the name that you see on the packaging as much as possible. You might be used to the FullScript search in FullScript directly, which isn't translated into the integration just yet. So you're probably used to seeing a number of filters, but with Jane, the best way to find the product you're looking for is to search by the name of the item. Similar to in FullScript, you're going to see the full product sheet. So you'll be able to see the nutrition information about the product, any possible allergen or other type of safety information. And then you can choose as well which size if the product comes in multiple sizes. I'm going to go ahead and add that to the recommendation. And then of course we can change the dosage instructions if we need to. What you're seeing here, same as in FullScript, is going to be the manufacturer's recommended dosing instructions. Once you're all set to go, the best thing to do is go ahead and send a recommendation using the gray button. I get a lot of questions about why the blue button is here, and I'm honestly not sure. We don't want to save as a draft because then we can't open this later after the note is signed in Jane and send the recommendation. So we always want to make sure to complete this and send the recommendation right away. So yeah, I think someone disconnected our account. It's not sending. But normally it would. And then the documentation in Jane is going to show like this. You'll see each product with its dosing instructions and any extra notes you added there right within your chart. When you're all set and you're complete this chart entry, you can go ahead and click sign. That will lock the entry. And by default, these entries are not visible to clients, but you can always go ahead and make a template that you would share with a client. So to illustrate that, I did go ahead and make basically like a handout within a chart template. I used a note box in order to do this. So your note boxes are ever expanding. You can put as much information as you want. They're not limited in any way. And as you can see, the rich text is highlighted here as well. We have kind of bold options. You can even put embedded links to online resources. And then if you'd like to make it visible to the patient, we just have to click this not visible and then let them know. So you can confirm and send an email to the client so that they are encouraged to log in and take a look at the materials you sent. Then, of course, you can go ahead and sign. One other quick thing I wanted to highlight here in the chart area, which is really helpful for folks in the nutrition field, is the medical alert. This is really great for those who have allergies. So if you have a client that you know has an allergy to peanut, for example, or anything else that you really want to keep track of so that you don't forget, you can put it in the medical alert and it will stay as a yellow banner right at the top of the patient chart, so you never have to dig for it. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I hope that helped you feel a bit more confident with kind of the charting side of things.
That's super handy. I have been using Jane, I told you, before we went live for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years at least, and I did not know about that medical alert. That is a really
Oh,
good
great.
feature.
I'm so glad. Yeah, that little tip, honestly, when I was using Jane in practice, it saved me too. So it's such a
Mhm.
helpful one.
So
Yeah.
are you able to share a little bit more? You mentioned kind of at the beginning, one of the challenges you've had is to keep all of the data safe. Are you able to talk a little bit more about how Jane handles those electronic medical records and how that works from a security standpoint?
Yes, absolutely. So at Jane, we are very committed to protecting patient privacy and to keeping their information safe. So we do have a trust council here at Jane, and their main job is to go through and evaluate all of our processes to make sure that they align with that goal of keeping information safe. All of our team members are updated on security training every year. So we are HIPAA compliant in the United States and PIPEDA compliant here in Canada. And so those are the Information Protection Acts for patients. We do have a security rating of SOC Type 2, and we have a level 1 certification in that, and we're working on our Type 2 report. If you ever have questions about how data is handled at Jane and how we keep things secure, or if you're ever worried that your Jane account has been compromised, you can always reach out directly to our privacy team at privacy at janeapp.com. Oh, sorry, privacy@jane.app or security@jane.app for more information.
Awesome. Is there anything else that you want to share about the charting? Otherwise, I might ask you some questions about taking payment.
Yeah, so those were kind of the main points that I really wanted to get across for everyone today. We have some amazing guide materials too. So if you'd like to visit Jane's general website at janeapp.com, there are tons of great articles in there about different ways that you can use the chart experience. And of course, if you ever did want more information on how to set this up for your unique practice, we do offer a number of different types of scheduled calls. So you can book a demo call if you're brand new to Jane, or you can book one of our support call types if you're already a Jane user.
Amazing. So looking at the payment side of things, then you mentioned that you can store client credit cards and handle payment. Are you able to share what the client payment options are?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jane does offer integrated payments with our payment processing partner at Stripe. So they're essentially an online bank and they're behind payment processing for all your favorite websites, probably, depending on where you shop online or different services you connect with. So they store the credit card safely. the credit card is not actually stored in Jane directly. It's fully encrypted with us and only a token is left, which is the last 4 digits. The actual card information is stored in Stripe, and even Jane team members don't have access to view the full credit card numbers, expiry dates, or security codes. So that all of that lives with Stripe. We do have a terminal option. If you'd like to purchase the Stripe terminal, you can do in-person payments that are directly linked into Jane. And then we have another layer of payment types you can use, which we call outside payments. So these payments are essentially processed outside of Jane. So this is going to be your Interact e-transfer. If you have a different type of terminal from your bank or some other payment processing partner, like Square, for example, you can create what's called outside payment methods, and you can accept those payments elsewhere. So they don't happen in Jane directly, but you can document those payments in Jane. So you can see them all in your transaction and sales reports so that all of the financials for your business, aside from purchases you make for the business, are housed in one place. So it just makes all of your billing and reporting easier.
Mhm. So you mentioned that billing and reporting then. So obviously if you've had really organized payments through Jane, what is the billing functionality that comes after that? What does Jane offer in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few ways you can work with this. So we can do it right from the schedule page. If you click on the appointment block and you'll bring up this panel on the right-hand side. The first step is always to arrive our client. Not only does this indicate to Jane that the client is physically present for their appointment, it also starts the billing process by creating an invoice. Jane doesn't automatically email invoices out, but if you're using Jane's integrated payments, you can come into the billing tab for the client and send them a pay balance email so they can pay online. The other option, if you'd like to take payment administratively, is to click the pay button here. Jane is going to give a summary of what's owed. And then when we click next, we have the option to choose our payment method. Jane will show us the last payment method used because Jane thinks that's helpful. But if this client is going to use a different payment option today, we'll change over, and normally we would be able to put a credit card here, but I didn't link Jane Payments to the location I set up for today. I feel like that's a rookie mistake. But normally you'd be able to go ahead and enter their credit card here administratively, or you can use one of your other payment methods that you have set up. So I'm going to say Interact Transfer today. I'm going to remove this one and put the full amount under our different payment method, 95. Oops. Fumble fingers today. Sorry, folks. All right. And then you always have 3 kind of completed payment options. So the first option is going to be just pay with no receipt. The second option is pay with a printed receipt. And if the client has their email address on file, you can do a pay with an emailed receipt, and that will send it off to them. And once that's done, you'll notice that on the schedule, the color has now changed to this very specific green. That shows that the client was arrived. And then the little, you'll see it here, this little $sign indicates that this appointment is paid and the invoice is closed. Everything's set to go.
Wonderful. So you were showing the payment process there for a single appointment. What if a client has a recurring membership or they're doing a program, something like that? How would you, can you show the process for the automated billing?
Yeah, so packages and memberships operate a little bit differently. Packages, I like to think of them as a series of appointments. So you might, for example, have a certain package that includes 4 or 5 appointments, and then it has an end. A membership is something that's a little bit more ongoing, and we can't sell these online just yet. But if a client does want to come in and sign up for a membership or purchase a package, you can do this right under the billing tab in their client profile. And essentially, once you have your packages and memberships set up in the general settings of the Jane account, you are able to go ahead and search for the different types of packages that are offered and you can sell that. Essentially, with a package, what Jane is going to do here is you're going to accept payment upfront. Actually, there's a couple ways to set up packages, so definitely give us a call, and we can help you set it up the way that works best for you. But in most cases, folks will set these up so that the payment is received up front, and then Jane is going to keep track of how many usages are part of this package and how many are remaining. So the client won't pay per visit, but Jane will keep track of how many usages they have left. And memberships are similar in that you do have to tell Jane like how many times they can come in for a visit within the membership period. And as long as they have a credit card on file, Jane will be able to do that automated billing for you. If they don't have a credit card on file, or if you're not using Jane Payments, you can manually go through and accept payment for all of the memberships. And you can set these up to go on a weekly, monthly, or any other kind of frequency that you'd like, up to a year.
Okay. We just had a question come in, and I'm not sure actually if this one is related to payments or not, but it says the groups tab is new to them. What is that all about?
Yeah, great question. We just launched group appointments last week, so this is super exciting. Basically, in the past, Jane only had the ability to schedule a one-on-one appointment or a class, and a class was open to anybody who wanted to register for that class. We didn't have anything in between for group sessions. So really, this was a little bit more geared to our mental health practitioners who were working with families, couples, or other types of support groups, to create a way to schedule an appointment with specific members. If you have a client already in the account and they wanted to schedule a group appointment, if you have a group appointment type, they would actually create a group as they're making that appointment. And so then they can reuse that group again. It's almost like setting up a group profile for you and your family, or you and a friend, for example. And then the groups tab under the patient profile will show any groups that this person belongs to. And then the invoices and everything will be accessible from there as well for those group appointments.
That's amazing. So good eye for noticing that, I suppose.
Yes, it's brand new.
Yeah.
I think it's
I've
a week
been
old tomorrow.
I've been using, I work with a lot of couples on fertility issues. So often they do want to attend together. So we've been using a bit of a workaround where one of them will log in and then send the video link to the other. But this is fabulous. I'm learning new things here.
Yeah.
This is great.
So group video is coming soon. Part of the move towards being able to do fully group video sessions within Jane was to first create this group appointments feature, because we didn't even have a way for patients to properly book a group appointment. But now this is here. And then the next step is going to be group or family payments, which is coming shortly. And then we're going to be launching group video in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Very exciting.
Amazing. Amazing. All right. Are there any other questions from those of you who are watching that you want to ask about payments or billing? Otherwise, Kara, if there's anything you want to share in the meantime, otherwise maybe we can talk a bit about intake forms.
Yeah, so intake forms was something that was really challenging for me before I started working with Jane. And so I really wanted to take a look at intake forms because they can be so valuable, especially for our nutrition practitioners. You know, I've been in your shoes. I've worked in a practice. I've managed my own business. And as we know, those nutrition profile forms can be quite lengthy and a lot to manage. So I did create a version of a nutrition profile form here, and I'll just open it up so you folks can take a look. I like to think of intake forms, and it's ironic that I'm speaking to nutritionists today because I use this metaphor all the time on calls, not necessarily with nutritionists. But I like to think of intake forms like a sandwich, and my whole team makes fun of me for this, but I just find it's an easy way to relate to the form. So basically, you have these different sections of the form, and they're kind of like different parts of the sandwich or the meal or the food order, I like to think of. So the general settings are going to be how the sandwich is delivered. So this is where we decide on the name, For our form, this is where we can decide if we want it to go out automatically when a client books an appointment, or if we want to send the form manually based on, any type of variables that might be there. And then we can also decide how long the form is valid for. So I'm just going to go back because I created one that was specific for nutrition. I think I grabbed the wrong one. Here it is. So this one I made valid for a year. So after a year, if the client comes back to us, they will be prompted to fill out this form again so I can get fresh medical history, which is really helpful for keeping all of your information up to date, especially as things change and progress. The second part of the form, I like to think of the appointment type, as the soup that the sandwich comes with. So this is where we decide if this form is going to be sent for all of our appointment types, for only appointments in a specific discipline, appointments with a specific staff member, or specific treatments individually. So I connected this form to my initial holistic nutrition intake because this is going to be my big medical history type form. The next part of the form is called profile fields, and I like to think of these as the default toppings that come with the sandwich, but we can still decide if we want to keep these or not, and we can decide if we want these to be mandatory. So the first name, last name, and email will always be toggled on. Excuse me, but these other ones we can decide if we want to keep, and we can also decide if we want some to be mandatory. Just bear in mind that if you make one of these options mandatory, a client can't move to the next portion of the form without filling it out. So if they don't have a home phone number, for example, this could be a bit of a barrier to them completing the form, just to be mindful when you're setting these up. I'm going to skip over the insurance information today because I know that unfortunately some of our services aren't covered for insurance. But if you do have services that are covered for insurance, please reach out to our support team and we'd be happy to help explain all of Jane's insurance features to you. The next portion of the form is questionnaires, and I like to think of this as the customizable toppings on the sandwich. This is where we can get really creative. We can add our own flair to our form. And so what I did here was I went ahead and set up a form that you're probably pretty familiar with. We have all of the check boxes. We have different note fields for more long answer questions. And you can kind of go from there. There are lots of different ways that you can use Jane's what we call chart parts within intake forms or chart templates. And this can really help you find or gather the information that you need. One of the items that I really like to work with a lot is the range scale, and I think it's incredibly underrated. The range scale can really help you gauge the client's feeling or perception about something. So especially when you're looking to gauge someone's energy levels, their level of pain, if they're having some pain in their condition, or their levels of stress, a range scale is really going to be your best friend here. So as you go through, you can kind of set this all up. I will say that these forms are very simple to set up and really easy to use. The one thing they don't do is they don't add all the symptoms together for you right now for all of the different bodily systems. But if you're looking at them and you have your key of how you're supposed to score each part, you can quickly do this for the form there. This portion of the form in the questionnaires area also, when the form is completed, translates directly to a chart entry, and all of the profile fields fill out the patient profile information for you. So that's all mapped over. So you don't have to duplicate any of this or do any extra work. Jane's taking that kind of admin burden off of your shoulders. The last portion of the form is consents. And I like to think of this as the bill at the end of the meal. This is basically where you can put all of your policies in place and the client has to sign off on all of these policies as if they were signing for their credit card at the end of the meal. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that metaphor. I know it's like
I was just
going
to say, what an analogy. I love how it follows all the way through, beginning to end. So if for those of you who are watching, if you do have any questions about the intake forms, how to use that, you can throw them up there right now. Again, I'm learning a couple neat little tricks for myself here, listening to you talk about things. So this is wonderful.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. All right. I don't see any feverish typing. So you had talked a little bit earlier about the integration with FullScript. Are you
Mhm.
able to quickly go over some of the other integrations that Jane has?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, Jane has a few really helpful integrations for running your business. Probably the most helpful one for managing client care is going to be FullScript for sure. But we do have an integration with MailChimp. So if any of you are using MailChimp to send out newsletters and other types of mass communications to your clients or your audience, this is really helpful because when you connect your MailChimp account to Jane, it will collect all the emails and first and last names of clients who join your Jane account and automatically put them into your email list so that you can grab those folks and add them to your audience. One of the other ones that's helpful here too is Google Analytics. So if you have a Google business account, you can connect your analytics to Jane and you can monitor traffic and conversions from your website to booked appointments, let's say. So this can be really helpful if you're looking to gauge traffic coming from your website. And then, of course, the calendar subscriptions can be really, really helpful as well. I struggle to stay organized. I have information in too many different places. And so if I can connect all of the information from different places into my one Google Calendar, I am so much happier. So you can connect your Jane calendar to your Google Calendar or your iPhone calendar, for example. This right now is a one-way connection, so information from your Google Calendar won't transfer to Jane, but all of the appointments booked on your Jane account will transfer to Google Calendar, and it will only show either the first and last initial of the client, or it will show their first name and last initial, depending on how you set up your privacy settings in your staff profile.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So let's say someone has a Jane account, they've gotten started, they've watched this demo webinar, but they still have a technical problem or they have some sort of a question. Can you go over the different options for support that are available?
Yeah, for sure. Our support team is here for you every step of the way with your Jane account. And, we hope you'll be with us for a very long time. You can reach out to us via phone. I'll make sure that I share our phone number and our email address so that Veronica can share them with you. But essentially, you can email into us any time of day. We do answer emails regularly between our normal business hours, which are 6 a.m. Pacific to 5 p.m. Pacific. If you're towards the eastern part of Canada, that's going to be 9 to 8 p.m. your time. You can also call us on the phone during those regular business hours, and we have a live chat available. If you ever need help with Jane, you can click the Need Help button at the top right of your account, and you can find our phone number here. You can join a live chat with one of our friends, or you can email us directly right from there too.
Amazing. So I think we alluded to this in the event posting that we put up in our Networking Nutritionist group. But you folks at Jane have a really exciting event coming up. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to bring up the slide deck.
Sure.
So next week, starting on Monday, so from August 22nd to the 26th, we're running our annual Allied Conference, which is very affectionately known here at Jane as Jane Summer School. So you're welcome to register and join for any of the sessions. Quite a number of the sessions are specific to working with Jane, but some of them are just helpful sessions for running your business or working with clients or improving client experience or client care. So you're welcome to register for any of these classes. You'll find them. There's like a purple banner at the top of our general website at janeapp.com for you to save your seat. I'm actually hosting a session on Wednesday called From Chart to Finish. And it's all about charting outside of the box.
That's excellent. Do you know offhand any of the other topics that are going to be covered?
So we are going to be talking a little bit about an upcoming feature. So we're going to be introducing Jane Analytics, which is coming soon. There's also going to be some sessions on working with clients with empathy. I don't remember if this is going to be happening this year or if this was last year's session, but we did have one on working with clients who were at end of life. So if that's not for this year, definitely check out our recordings from last year, especially if you have any clients who are kind of at end of life care stages, folks with cancer or something like that. And then we are going to be having a number of sessions on things like billing, reporting, all the magic of Jane payments. They're going to be talking about imports, everything basically to help you get started with Jane and to help you keep being successful in your practice.
Amazing. Melanie just sent in a comment here. She said that she's taken part in the Jane Summer School sessions in the past and always learned something. So she's already looking forward to this year's round.
Awesome. I'm so excited you'll be joining us, Melanie. Definitely invite some friends to join the class with us too.
She just sent another note. It said, the ratings and reviews function is also awesome for dopamine.
Yeah, Jane does have an internal ratings and reviews option. So you can actually set up Jane to send out an email after a session to gather a rating or review. And you can connect these to your Google reviews too. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I forgot to mention it when we were talking about different integrations, that essentially if the star review is 4 or higher, Jane will automatically prompt the client and ask them if they want to add this as a Google review. And so that can help you convert your internal Jane reviews to Google reviews that will show on your website and on Google when people are searching for nutritionists near them. And so that can boost your business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all know how important Google reviews are for small businesses these days. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else about Jane Summer School that that you wanted to share? Or I see you've got up here some information about a discount code that you're offering.
Oh, I skipped ahead a little bit.
That's okay.
In terms of Jane Summer School, definitely check out just our general website. All the sessions there are listed, and the way that they have it set up with Zoom events, you can actually create a calendar for yourself of the different events that you want to join. So you don't necessarily have to join for the entire day. You can pick and choose the sessions that are important to you. And as
I'll say too,
nice
Rachel just added in the chat that Jane Summer School is free.
It is free. Oh, sorry. I meant to say that. Thank you, Rachel. You saved me there. I can't believe I forgot to say that it was free. That's the most important part. As part of our partnership with Networking Nutritionists, we are offering this grace code. So if you decide to sign up with Jane, you can use this grace code for 1 free month of Jane. So you'll get an entire month for free. You'll have our support to help you get started and set up with your new account. And we do offer an import process. So if you're switching from another software, we have an amazing imports team here that will work with you to transfer your data from your current software to Jane. And if you have specific questions about that or about that regarding the software that you're transferring from directly, please reach out to our support team. We're always happy to answer those types of questions.
Amazing. So I think we're getting towards the end of what we specifically wanted to cover. I have a couple other questions, but I want to invite anyone in attendance as well. Now's the time. If you have any more questions, feel free to put those up into the chat now and we'll make sure that we get to those. And I see you've got up on the screen here how to get in touch. So if you need to screenshot that or something, you can do that now. Of course, this video also will be available for replay ongoing in Networking Nutritionists. And we'll have all of the links in the video description as well with that, including this nice discount grace code as well. So while we wait, in case there's some other questions that come in, we did have a few questions that members sent in when we posted about this event, those who knew that they wouldn't be able to attend live, but wanted to get their questions answered. So if it's okay, I'm going to start with those. And then if there's any that come in through the chat, we can jump over there too. So the first question was, can I upload videos to explain my services and share with clients or potential clients?
Yeah, this was a really interesting question. It's not something that I've had come across my radar before. So this was really, really cool. Thank you to whoever shared this question. Um, at this time, there isn't a way to upload videos to the online booking page. As you saw, it's really meant for scheduling appointments, although you can add little blurbs about the different types of appointments you offer. So when you're creating your different session types, there's an area to fill in some information. It's called, appointment details before booking message. And so that's going to pop up when a client's trying to book an appointment. And you can also fill in another section in there that's after booking message. So this is information you can fill in that is pertinent to when the client comes in for their visit. And that will be sent out in the thank you for booking email, which is the first confirmation that they receive. And again, all of these notification emails and SMS text message reminders are included in the base price of Jane. Like, we don't charge extra for that. So you can set up as many of those as you want. And this is also a great time to say that you can also suggest features for Jane. So we do have a way for you to request a feature or for you to request improvements to a current feature. And it's through Canny. It's basically like an online bulletin board where you can tell us what you need from Jane. And that's a direct line to our development team. So they're always in there mining for little gold nuggets, as I say, for the next feature that's going to become part of Jane.
Excellent. The next question that we had sent in, it says, does Jane have an online calendar as well that you could use for your own day-to-day tasks? So more of a task management, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm going to switch back to our demo account briefly here so I can give you an idea of some workarounds you could use. So as I mentioned earlier, you can connect your Jane calendar to your Google Calendar so you can keep track of any appointments booked in Jane alongside your personal calendar. But if you're wanting to manage tasks, there's a few ways to do this. So sometimes what we suggest to clients, depending on their needs, is to use the break function. So on the schedule page, you'll see this little break button down at the bottom left. You can use that to pop a break on the schedule. You can give the parameters of how long this break might be. So maybe we need to leave early for the day. We can book this right until the end of the day, for example. And then you can leave a note for yourself here. So if it's a personal appointment, you could put doctor's appointment. Clients will never see this on the online booking page. This is just for you. And you can use these types of breaks to create, honestly, any kind of reminders that you need on the schedule. I used to like to put breaks kind of all at the top of my day, a bunch of little breaks in there so that I would remember to do different things. The other option is you can create a discipline that's called personal, and you can create session types that are specific to any of your personal needs. So you can create a session type that's 8 hours long that's called vacation that would block you off for the entire day when you're going out of town. We use that, actually, it's funny, we use Jane to schedule our day today on the support and demo team. So we have a bunch of those created. So we have kind of our vacation time or our stat holidays, that we put in as an appointment type essentially. And the other way that you can manage different types of tasks is using the actual task feature. So you'll find this under your staff profile. So when you bring up your staff profile in Jane, you'll see tasks here. You can enter different types of tasks. You can set a due date for them, and then you can add one. So I'm just going to put something in there so you can see what this looks like. And I'm going to say it's due tomorrow. And I'll add it, and you'll see it comes up like this. Once you complete the task, you can check it off, and you can also view any of your completed tasks here. So you can filter based on your to-dos and your completed list. And you can star them too, just to make sure that they show up right at the top of your day. But if I go to my staff profile now, and I open it up, and I go to tasks, you'll see it's still sitting there, and there's actually a way for us to add this to the day. So if I go to tomorrow, I should see a little number here. Oh, it's not coming up. I might have done this task incorrectly, but they should show up at the top of your day. And as you complete them, you can turn them off and they'll disappear from here and they'll show up under your completed list. So you can see all your different tasks there.
Can I ask, in that view that you're in right now,
Mhm.
where you added the task, I'm assuming they show up in a list. Does it prioritize them based on the due date or when they were made? Is there any way to change that?
They prioritize based on when they're due. So you'll always see the most urgent ones at the top of your task list under the assigned to me section. And you can also create tasks for other staff members. So if you're the owner of a clinic and you need to assign tasks to others, you can do that as well. You can assign them to different people and tell them what day they need to be done.
So for those of you still watching live, we're getting to the end of our hour and I only have one more question to ask. So if you have any other questions rattling around that you want to ask Kara, now is the time to type them in, use that chat or put them into the Q&A while I give her this one last question. So the last one that I had from a group member was, what does it say here? Instead of having clients choose a service or a package, can I set up a membership option? So we did touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, we did touch on that a little bit. The memberships feature is a little bit newer to Jane. So we launched this earlier in the spring of this year. You'll find it under the packages and membership section in your settings. And when you're creating a package or membership, there are a bunch of parameters you can set up here. So if we were doing a membership, for example, we would choose that option. We would give the membership a name, and then we can choose the billing cycle. And so we can decide how much the client pays per week, month, or year. And then you can also tell Jane if it's going to require tax on top of that payment. And you can set everything you need, like an expiry date, the different treatments that are available as part of this particular membership are available here as well. And you can also assign a staff compensation per session type. So if you're working in a clinic where you have a number of staff members and you want them to be compensated a specific amount when a client comes in for a session that's covered under their membership, you can set up that parameter here. And if you're using Jane's integrated payments, Jane will bill for you without you even having to think about it based on the billing cycle that you've set up. So nice and streamlined there for sure.
I don't see any other questions that have come in, so you must have done a fabulous job answering everybody's questions as we went through this demo. Is there anything else, Kara, that you want to add before we wrap up this hour?
Honestly, I just wanted to thank you all for joining me today. Thank you for having me. It was really nice to connect with the audience of Networking Nutritionists and get back in touch with some other nutritionists in the business since I'm not practicing anymore and I'm working full-time with Jane. So I really just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, and we hope we see you at Allied next week.
Yes, thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Kara. Thank you, Rachel, as well, for being here. This was very informative. As I said, even using Jane for years, there's a few little tidbits that I took away from this demo. So that was really, really valuable. And the discount code obviously helps also. So, oh, I see one last moment. Oh, just a thank you. So thank you again for being here. This replay will be available in Networking Nutritionist with all of the information about Jane, how to get in touch with them, how to claim your discount, how to join summer school if you would like to do that. So all of that will be available to all of our group members as well. So thank you again. I will let you both get on with your evenings. Thank you for sharing all of this information, and hopefully we're in touch again soon.
Thanks so much.
That's a
All
pleasure.
right, take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.